The Long Road to True Happiness by WierdRandomTina. Chapter 40. Disaster Strikes. It was early in the evening, and Troll Village was busier than a hive of bees. But the trolls weren't excitedly planning a fancy festival, or hurrying to an epic party, or playing the annual village-wide tag game, or dancing enthusiastically to uplifting music. There was minimal singing, dancing, laughing and playing around as the trolls in the west and south gathered their belongings from their pods, with the help of some trolls from the elevated east and north. Everyone grasped the seriousness of this danger. They knew it had to be very bad for their optimistic, carefree queen to strictly order a full evacuation. Progress was steady, and they were not taking their time. However, it was still taking a while to relocate everybody. They wanted to take all of their belongings with them. All of it. Every little knick-knack, every dime a dozen craft material, everyday household appliances and furniture. Every single item in their pods. Branch had to remind some of them to focus on packing essentials and significant personal items, such as family photos or heirlooms, not items you can live without or can easily be replaced. And many trolls were hesitant to leave their homes. They'd not only be ditching their customised, colourful pods, but many would also be forced to abandon their businesses. Some shops that had been established when King Peppy first rebuilt Troll Village 2 decades ago. Some that had just gotten on their feet within the last year or two. Every shop, old or new, big or small, meant everything to the owners, and was an important part of the Troll Village's culture. Some trolls asked Poppy if they'd ever be able to return to their homes. Her answer remained consistent. I don't know. I really hope so. For nearly an hour, Branch and Poppy had been flying around the village on their blue flyer bugs, surveying the landscape below the mid-cliff. The pair had split up, with Branch covering the west while Poppy stayed towards the south. The Pink Queen once again checked up on her father and the evacuees in the centre of the village. This time she found her boyfriend there as well, hovering at the other end of the clearing. After exchanging a glance from afar, they simultaneously flew upward and off to the right to meet just above the orange and yellow treetops, the village centre just out of view. The messy streamers and loose blue bow in Poppy's hair reflected her hard work. She expected Branch to look worn out since he had been equally as busy, plus he had made the 4-hour journey to the dam. But instead, his sky-blue eyes were bright and alert. He got right to the point. What's the status in the south? The last of the people should be arriving any second now, Poppy told him. I found a few hanging around who hadn't been at the announcement, and a few purposefully lollygagging, but I got that straightened out pretty quickly. Same here. 3 teens had skipped the announcement and were playing card games in the woods. One older troll thought it'd be a good idea to finish the book he was reading before starting to pack his things. Poppy continued. I found Saturn and Chenille arguing over which fabrics and clothing items they should bring, and I figured there would be no point in trying to reason with them since it would only cause more conflict and waste more time. So I found some stray trolls nearby and got them to help the twins carry everything. Claus was more practical, and left behind anything that wasn't his recipe books and the vintage baking utensils from his grandpa. DJ Suki needed help with her woofer bug, since he refused to leave his pen. At Maddie's shop, Mags was in the middle of getting her massive red hair done and was not keen on leaving. Rufus and his workers left the farm with their animals immediately, but well over half their crops have not been harvested yet. Rufus wanted to go back and get them, but I told him to stay put for now and we'd discuss it later. Branch nodded. Yes, once everyone is out of the danger zone, we can organise a team to return on flyer-bugs and harvest what we can. I can remain in the air to watch for the floodwaters, and if I spot anything, everyone can get out of there in a matter of minutes. How did it go at the primary school? It went all right. I recruited some other adults to assist the teachers, but it was still a slow process to herd several dozen youngsters over to the other side of the village. Thankfully, despite a few trollings wandering off here and there along the way, everyone was accounted for when they reached the elementary school. It's a bit crowded there now, but I figured it'd be the easiest and safest to keep all the youngest children in one location, and it was made very clear that they are forbidden to leave the building. We made sure their guardians were alerted to their whereabouts, so there would be no panicked parents running around the village. Poppy was yet again impressed. though not surprised by how thorough and rational and organised her boyfriend was. Here he was facing a terrifying threat, and a mountain of responsibility that was suddenly thrown into his face, and he was in complete control. Branch is handling this situation better than I am. The Pink Queen had complete faith in his abilities, but her royal habits combined with her newfound anxiety provoked her to question him anyway. How about Milton's place?
Yes, Smidge gathered up plenty of volunteers to move the critters. They're temporarily stationed in Charlotte's board game shop. She's cleared out the entire building this morning to prepare for renovations, and making it perfect to set up makeshift cages and store food and medicine, and keep the sick critters safe from the elements. Charlotte's more than happy to lend Milton her shop.
Poppy's heart continued to swell with pride, and Branch went on.
The Smiling Taste Buds restaurant and all the surrounding stores were successfully emptied. Guy alerted Karma. She had been listening to music in her pod all day and had no clue what was going on.
As Guy Toronto's Fun Factory? The dark-haired Golden Glitter Troll's factory was built along the mid-cliff, slightly overhanging it. It was vital to every party and festival, the heart of the village's fun. Poppy hoped it would survive the flood. I'm sure it will. I doubt the water will even reach that high, and if it does, that massive building will be strong enough to handle it.
The last of the workers are vacating the building as we speak.
Branch's verbal reassurance and confident demeanour comforted Poppy. Finally, after nearly 6 hours, she could breathe properly. She finally felt like herself again, warm, tingly optimism spreading from head to toe. All her people were going to be safe. The village's best builders, led by Branch, would go back to the dam and find a solution to save the lower half of the forest from being destroyed. Queen Poppy! Biggie's frantic shout snapped Poppy out of her positive thoughts. He was flying chaotically toward her on a yellow flybug. Queen Poppy! Branch! Sorry to interrupt, but I think we've got a problem! Branch's thick, indigo blue eyebrows lowered. Of course there was a problem. Things had been going so well, almost flawlessly, and that was far too good to be true. What is it? Biggie's blue eyes widened in terror. The water has risen dramatically. It's almost touching the Smiling Taste Buds patio. What? Branch snapped, shocked at the news, making him aggressive. That would make Colossal Lake over twice the size it was less than an hour ago. Are you sure? Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. Even the expressionless Mr. Dingles looked frightened. That dense forest on the other side of Colossal Lake? It's completely underwater. It's just gone. A jolt of dread zapped through Branch like lightning. Without a word, he gave reins of his flybug with a sharp tug to soar straight up, high into the cloudy sky. As he came to a halt, Branch quickly pulled out his binoculars and peered towards the northwest. What he saw was a scene from a nightmare. In the distance, a wall of water was approaching, swallowing the landscape, devouring everything in its path. The tallest hills looked like anthills in comparison, and vanished in the blink of an eye. It was moving at a horrifying speed, and there was nothing anyone or anything could do to stop it, lessen it, or divert it. The great flood was coming. Not in a few weeks, not in a few days. It would be upon them in a few minutes. Poppy and Biggie were watching nervously as Branch flew upward, so suddenly it startled his flybug. Once he looked like the size of an ant. Poppy saw him pause, likely bring out his binoculars and get a proper view. Within a few seconds he was swiftly soaring downward, and Poppy's blood ran cold. Branch was only halfway back down, and she could already see the sheer terror on his face. Before he even reached them, he was already screaming, "The dam burst! The flood's on its way! We need to move now! Go, go, go!" Before Poppy or Biggie could do so much as blink, Branch zipped toward the village centre. The Queen and her companion instantly followed. The blood was pounding in Poppy's ears, so much so her world seemed silent. Adrenaline was making her feel eerily calm. Once she caught up with Branch, she shouted out, "How long do we have before it hits?" "Maybe 15 minutes if we're lucky. Come on, hurry!" 15 minutes. Some days, 15 minutes would feel like an eternity. Now Poppy could only pray that 15 minutes would be long enough. In the centre of the village, everyone was at ease and composed. Some trolls were playing cards, others competed at charades, some simply comforted each other with hugs and singing. The most distressed trolls were huddled by the stage, receiving a soothing talk from Peppy. And then Poppy, Branch and Biggie burst in on their flying bugs. Everyone stopped what they were doing immediately. All eyes focused on the trio. Wasting no time, Poppy yelled into her megaphone, "Attention everyone! The flood's coming! It'll be here any minute!" She continued over the terrified and dismayed chatter. "Is every troll accounted for? Is anyone missing?" There were a few seconds of murmurs and glancing around, with a few shouts of, "This troll's missing!" followed up with, "I'm over here!" and "I just took him to his pod. She's in the restroom. They went towards the east to get snacks." Poppy was ready to breathe a sigh of relief. Everyone was here. Everyone was in the safe zone. Everyone was going to be fine. Until Suki's frantic voice along the edge of the crowd rose above everyone else. "My grandpa! Has anyone seen my grandpa?" A cold dread spread through Poppy when not a single troll could answer. Suki continued, "I left him in his pod by the school, but when I went to check on him, he was gone. He must have wandered off. He hasn't been thinking clearly. Oh, this is all my fault. I shouldn't have left him." "Suki, it is not your fault," Poppy soothed her. "Don't worry, we'll find him." Branch asked Suki, "Do you have any idea where he might go?" Suki answered immediately, "He likes to sit on the bench under the tall orange mushroom. He bird watches there almost every day." "Stay here," Branch ordered. "I'll get him." Poppy's split second of relief was short-lived when another voice spoke up. "4 of the children are gone!" It was one of the teachers. He was running towards the crowd with Priscilla right behind him. The pale yellow girl adjusted her red glasses nervously, then shouted out to Poppy, "CJ heard her great-grandpa was missing, so she and Tommy and Carrie and Gemma went to find him. I told them not to, but they snuck out anyway. I didn't want to be a tattletale, but I was worried about them." Poppy assured the little girl, "You did the right thing, Priscilla. Thank you." Suki was now beside herself with worry. "Oh no, not CJ too!" Biggie was worried about his nephew as well. "Oh dear, I hope they haven't gone too far." "Wait, where's Sarah?" Yet another panic shout sank Poppy deeper into dread. More voices added to the panic. "She's not in your pod. No, I thought she was going to your place. She never showed up. I haven't seen her since lunchtime. Where could she be?" After a few seconds, someone finally spoke up with useful information. "Last I heard, Sarah was heading to the heart-shaped pond after the beach was evacuated to collect more pebbles." Poppy's heart was pounding. That meant 6 trolls were missing. 6 trolls and a little more than 10 minutes to find them and get them to safety. But they should all be around the same area. The tall orange mushroom, the heart-shaped pond. That's all along the little caterpillar trail that connects to the butterfly trail. So that should lessen the time. We can do this. Branch shouted out, "All right, everybody stay put. We can't risk anyone else going to the danger zone and needing to be rescued. I will get the missing trolls. Everyone stay here." Before Branch could take off, Poppy offered, "I'll come with you." "No," Branch spoke firmly and quickly. "You need to stay here and protect the village. I won't risk you getting caught in the path if time runs out." Poppy didn't use the term dislike very often, but in this case she absolutely hated what her boyfriend was implying. "But what if you need help?" "I won't. I'll be fine. Promise me that no matter what happens, you'll stay here." He moved closer until he was almost looming over her. "Promise me, Poppy." His hardened blue eyes and sharp tone made it impossible for her to argue. "Oh, okay. I promise." And just like that, Branch zipped out of sight. Poppy closed her eyes and crossed her little pink fingers as tightly as possible. "Please be safe." Branch flew at maximum speed over the tops of the orange trees, hunching forward with ears flattened against his head and hair lowered behind him. He couldn't afford to waste even a second. The image of that horrific wall of water was burned into his mind, able to see it as constantly as a ghost overlay in his vision. He rushed past the mid-cliff, over more trees and deserted pods, down towards the nearest location, the tall orange mushroom. Unfortunately, he found the bench and the surrounding area empty. However, Branch could have sworn he heard voices, children's voices, somewhere to his left. Turning his flybug, he darted in the direction of the sound. Within less than half a minute, Branch found them. All 4 trollings escorting Grandpa Pine up the caterpillar trail that would eventually lead to Butterfly Trail and past the mid-cliff elevators. He heard CJ's desperate plea, "Come on, Great-Grandpa Pine, we gotta hurry!" The skinny red elder was moving at a decent pace for his age, but not nearly fast enough to beat the flood on foot. He asked, "Remind me again, dear, why are you in such a hurry?" "Because a big flood's coming, Grandpa."
Branch landed his flyer bug directly in front of them, hopping off. "Come on, everyone get onto the flyer bug, now!" Instantly, CJ, Tommy, Carrie and Gemma started rambling with apologies and justifying their disobedience, but Branch cut them off. "Never mind that. We need to get to high ground right now. Let's go. Move. Hurry!" While helping Pine and the children up onto the bug, Branch asked if any of them had seen Sarah, a blue troll with purple hair wearing a pink dress. All of them answered no. Branch's gaze darted around until he spotted a sturdy tree a few hair stretches away. "Nobody move! I'll be right back!" The strong and skilled troll climbed to the top of the tree in a matter of seconds and surveyed the area. He noticed the heart-shaped pond several tree lengths away towards the south that he'd passed by on his flyer bug once in the last hour. From his vantage point, he spotted something that had been invisible to him high in the air. Beyond the pond was a hill with a large rocky overhang, and underneath it was Sarah, struggling on the ground with her legs pinned under some freshly fallen rocks. Using his hair, Branch swiftly swung through the trees, landing skillfully beside the pod and sprinting toward the trapped girl. Her voice was rough with pain and desperation as she called out to him, "Help me, please! I'm stuck!" "Hang on!" Within a few seconds, Branch arrived in front of the rock pile. He assessed the situation. Sarah explained with wide, dark blue eyes, "I always sit under here, but today a bunch of rocks fell on me. I've been stuck for over an hour. I tried to move them with my hair, but they're too heavy. I tried shouting, but no one heard me." By then, Branch had carefully but swiftly removed several of the rocks, but the largest rock, the one pinning her foot, wedged on a smaller, flatter stone. That bulky rock was the one that needed to be moved. "Get ready!" Branch strategically wrapped his hair around the rock, braced himself, and pulled on it with all his might. He managed to budge it just enough for Sarah to slip out. He released the rock and quickly scanned her for injuries. A few minor bruises and scrapes on her arms and other than her leg, but the trapped foot was in a rough shape, badly bruised, and possibly a broken ankle. One thing's for sure, she would not be walking on it anytime soon. Branch glanced at his watch. His already pounding heart began to race faster. 5 minutes! There was no time for proper treatment. "Wrap your hair snugly around your ankles and makeshift bandage." Sarah immediately did as she was told, too shocked to hesitate or ask questions. In the next second, Branch picked her up and bolted towards the waiting flyer bug. To his relief, Pine and all 4 trollings were present, sitting exactly how he'd left them. Branch, with the help from Pine, Carrie and Tommy, got the injured Sarah to sit comfortably and securely on the flyer bug. All 6 missing trolls had been found within a few minutes to spare. Now all they had to do was fly back to the safe half of the village. But there was yet another problem. The weight of 6 trolls combined with all the vigorous travelling had weakened Branch's flying bug. He could see that it was struggling to support all the trolls. Any more weight and they would most likely crash. Without climbing on, Branch ordered, "Go, get back to the village!" But the trolls looked at him in dismay. Carrie cried, "But what about you?" "I'll catch up! Hurry, go, now!" Branch whistled and gestured for the bug to head as fast as possible towards the village centre. It obeyed, and took off before anyone else could object. Branch sprinted after it on foot, with the occasional aid of his hair, but the swift bug grew smaller and smaller, until it disappeared altogether. Branch breathed a sigh of relief. Pine, CJ, Tommy, Carrie, Gemma and Sarah were all on their way to safety. They were all going to be okay. As for him, there's still a chance I can make it. With his strength and agility, plus an extra dose of determination, he could move like lightning. He was easily one of the fastest trolls in the village. Branch let out a loud sigh of relief as the mid-cliff came into view. "Through this bit of woods, past the berry bush patches, beyond that strip of grass, I'll reach the base of the mountain stairs and—" "Branch, help!" He nearly tripped over his feet as a desperate voice called out for him. He managed to skid to a stop and look to his left. To his surprise, there was Creek beside a patch of grip plants. A single tendril of their temperamental vines had wrapped around his waist. His purple eyes wide with fear. "Please, I can't free myself! Please, Branch, help me!" Branch hated every hair on Creek's head, every freckle on his face, every fibre of his being. But he couldn't just leave him here to drown. The turquoise troll doubled back, pulling the retractable knife out of his dark hair and hurrying to cut the pesky vine. Within a few seconds, Creek was free, and spoke with the highest level of gratitude. "Oh, thank you so much." And in an instant, that gratitude vanished. Before Branch could react in any way, Creek shoved him roughly, sending the survivalist directly into the grip plants.
Within 2 seconds, their tendrils aggressively wrapped around Branch's arms, legs and hair. His knife fell to the ground. He tried to move, but he was completely restrained. Meanwhile, Creek just stood there, watching, looking as laid back as ever. Branch snapped at him. "What in Troll's name is wrong with you?" Branch continued to struggle, but it was no use. The vines were too strong, even for him. "Get me out of here!" Creek smiled. The most eerie smile Creek had ever seen. Worse than something from a horror show. And he didn't make a sound. Branch tried pulling the tendrils in a different direction, but it only aggravated them more. They were not going to let him go. He snapped again. "What do you think you're doing?" Finally, Creek spoke, ever so softly. "I'm helping you, mate." "Helping me? How in the hell is this helping me?" Creek took a couple of steps closer, mockingly slow. "True, I could free you. Or I could do something much more beneficial to everyone. I could simply leave you here." His words sent a chill down Branch's spine, but he ignored it as best he could, and focused on trying to reach his knife. If he could just extend even one strand of his hair. Creek continued, now standing right in Branch's face. "I'll be doing you a favor. Think about it. You will go down in history as the troll who gave his life to single-handedly save the village. Quite an upgrade from the miserable, colourless hermit." Branch gasped, unable to believe his ears. Creek had always been smug, untrustworthy, two-faced, selfish, downright awful, and even cruel. But this was a whole new level. "You're crazy!" Creek shrugged, his smile unwavering. "You say crazy. I say that I saw my opportunity, and I took it. When you decided to play the hero, I decided to tag along. I figured one way or another I could trick you to doom yourself. And what do you know? I was correct." A dark fear pierced Branch's heart. Creek was right. He was doomed. He couldn't free himself. Creek was obviously not going to lend a hand, and no one else was around. And the great flood was going to hit any minute. This was it. He was done. Of all the ways he could have gone. Tricked, trapped in a plant, washed away by a flood, with everyone believing it was an unfortunate accident. "I just hope the others are okay. I hope Poppy is okay." Creek must have seen the grim realization on Branch's face, because his cold smile perked up in triumph. "Well, I wish I could stick around, but someone needs to comfort poor Poppy when she finds out her beloved boyfriend didn't make it. I will certainly have to." Then, in a dramatic turn of events, a long and dark magenta tuft of hair suddenly slammed into Creek, flinging him away and sending him careening into the bushes. The hair was attached to a pink troll, her pretty face uncharacteristically twisted, her teeth bared, fists clenched, and a blazing fury in her fuchsia eyes. Branch couldn't believe his eyes. He was terrified, relieved, impressed, and angry all at the same time. "Poppy! What in the hell are you doing here? Get out of here!" What she was doing was obvious, and of course she was not going to leave, so she simply darted towards him, grabbed his knife, and briskly started cutting the vines around his foot, careful to keep a bit of distance so she didn't end up caught too. Even though he knew it was fruitless, Branch tried again. "Poppy, get out of here! Get to safety! There isn't much time!" As expected, Poppy practically snapped at him. "I am not leaving you!" As she moved on to his next foot, Branch asked, "How did you even get down here?" She started on his wrist as she answered bluntly, "I was waiting above mid-cliff on my flyerbug. When the missing trolls returned without you and said you told them to leave you behind, I knew you were in trouble." "You promised you'd stay in the village." "I know. I'm sorry. I know I didn't listen. And I broke a promise. But I had to. I couldn't let something bad happen to you." Poppy's unwavering love for him warmed Branch's heart, but also petrified him. She was now directly in the danger zone, because she was determined to rescue him. She was putting her life on the line, for him. Poppy finally moved up to his hair, and he asked one final important question. "Where's your flyerbug?
A flash of alarm lit up Poppy's eyes. "It got spooked and took off!" Branch gulped, his terror increasing. That meant they would have to make it up to mid-cliff on their foot in under a minute. The second his hair was free, he grabbed Poppy's hand and roughly pulled her along. "Run!" The two trolls sprinted through the woods, as fast as their feet and hair would carry them. An ominous rumble could be heard towards the northwest, increasing in volume with every second. The ground beneath their feet was starting to vibrate, the pebbles lightly bouncing and the orange leaves on the trees trembling. They were panting, their chests ached, and their legs were on fire, but they didn't dare slow their pace. At last, the mushroom steps heading up mid-cliff came into view, right up ahead. Branch and Poppy burst out of the woods onto the strip of grass, then with one glance to the left, they nearly froze in fear. There it was, the massive wall of water, hurtling across the land like a blue mountain, like the sky was closing in on them. Poppy let out a deafening scream, her eyes bulging unnaturally. One strand of Branch's dark hair shot out and wrapped around her waist, yanking her toward him and into his arms. Using the rest of his hair, he propelled himself and her up the mushrooms. The wall of water was closing in on them fast, getting taller, wider, louder, ready to wipe out everything in its path. As a final desperate attempt, Branch stretched out his hair as far as physically possible, wrapped around the tips of a tree along the top of mid-cliff, then with a mighty tug, he slingshot them up and over the edge. He wrapped his hair around their bodies to cushion their landing. The following seconds played out in slow motion. Both trolls tumbled to safety. Poppy landed in the dirt, with Branch nearby, both shaken and out of breath, but unharmed. She instantly sat up and looked at the lower landscape below mid-cliff. In that split second, she spotted something atop a high tree. A face. A purple, freckled face, gaping with utter fear. Blue-green hair fully upright. Before Poppy could even blink, the entire forest in front of her, including that face, disappeared, engulfed by the floodwaters. The Pink Queen stared in shock, unable to blink, barely able to breathe. Where there was once a lush, colourful forest, there was now nothing but churning water as far as she could see. The ground was still vibrating beneath her. She barely even registered when Branch helped her to her feet. He asked her if she was all right, but she didn't answer. Loud rumbling and splashing further south, along the cliffside, alerted them. From where they were standing, the pair had a perfect view of the fun factory. However, how the ground jutted out beneath and around it had been directly hit by the flood, and was rapidly crumbling. Branch and Poppy flinched, as deafening cracks pierced the air like thunder. They could do nothing but watch with gaping jaws, as the grand building gradually split apart and toppled into the rushing floodwaters. Within several long seconds, the pieces were effortlessly carried away, like twigs in a stream. Poppy instinctively took a few slow steps toward what was left of the factory. Eventually, she stopped, and just stood there, staring at the pathetic remnants of what used to be the largest building in Troll Village. Hundreds of party supplies were scattered all over. Craft materials, table decor, party favors, wrapping paper, cards and gift bags, sports equipment and game boards and pieces, holiday ornaments, everything. Dirty, torn to shreds, broken, completely trashed. Poppy? Branch gently said her name, but she didn't respond. She couldn't respond. It's gone. The whole thing is gone. And there's nothing I can do about it. Nothing. I can't fix this. The fun factory was in irreparable pieces, most washed away by the flood. the rest nothing more than a pile of rubble. The lifeblood of the village. Gone. Nothing but a huge emptiness where it used to stand proudly. It took years to build, and only seconds to destroy. Up until that moment, Poppy had held on to the tiny, teeny, dim spark of hope that somehow the flood wouldn't happen, or if it did, it wouldn't be that severe. She had it in her head that Branch and the builders would find a way to divert some, or even the entire flood, and they'd all live happily ever after. And now, that hope was gone, vanished, torn from her heart, and ripped to shreds. 100% hopeless. 0 chance of a positive outcome. The entire southern and western parts of the forest are gone. Half my village is gone. The brightly coloured primary school, the village's largest sports field, Claus's delicious bakery, Maddie's wonderful hair salon, Milton's critter hospital. So many nice trails and lovely parks and unique landmarks and vital stores. Not to mention dozens of pods. And the village's main farm. Where will all the trolls live? What will we do for food? Winter's right around the corner. We won't be able to rebuild that many pods in such a short period of time. And it's not as if we can just grow more food. My people will be cold, hungry, unhappy. How will I, the Queen, be able to help them all? And what about Riverrand's new restaurant? Her parents worked so hard on it. They were so proud to have it up and running. It was quickly gaining popularity. And it was all for nothing. Just like the forest, the farm, the fun factory. It's gone. Forever. What was even more agonizing was how wonderful things had been a mere 6 hours ago. Her and Branch were laughing gleefully, eating delicious food, sharing fun stories with Smidge and Milton. Not a care in the world, living a perfectly wonderful life. And then they learned the water level was high at Colossal Lake, and it was all downhill from there. Just like the fun factory, fully intact 1 second, then falling apart the next. How could everything go from cupcakes and rainbows and having a perfect day to fearing for our lives and witnessing a total destruction in such a short time? 6 hours ago, Poppy was enjoying her double date at the Smiling Taste Buds restaurant. And now, that restaurant was gone. That entire area is gone. No one will ever eat there again. Even if the waters do recede, there will be nothing salvageable left of the building. There's too much water moving too fast. It's all gone. Poppy recalled rushing down to the beach, seeing the high water, ordering everyone to stay away from the lake and the river until they knew more. Oh, how she wished it had been a minor issue. She wished there had been a simple fix. She wished only Colossal Beach had been affected. She wished the water hadn't risen at all. She wished the dam never existed, that the lake and the river were fine, that the entire village was fine. But wishing like that was stupid. No amount of wishing would change what happened. Turn back time, take back the flood. Wishing for something that could not happen was a waste of time and effort. A painful reminder that those wishes could not come true. Half the village was gone. That was the reality. Poppy couldn't have her mind stuck in the fantasy. She was the queen, and she had to face the facts. Half her people were homeless. All her people were scared and in low spirits. Soon they would all also be hungry. But at least everyone was alive. No, not everyone. Creek isn't. Everyone survived the Great Flood, except him. And I am to blame. True, he chose to go into the danger zone, but I'm the one who shoved him into the bushes. If I hadn't done that, he could have escaped the flood. But he didn't escape.
Because of me. But I had no choice. I had to save my boyfriend. I should have tried talking to Creek, but there wasn't enough time. All three of us would have been washed away. I got so mad at Creek and scared for Branch's life, I just lost control of my emotions. But would Creek have even listened to me anyway? Still, I should have tried. But I couldn't. I was so concerned about Branch that I didn't even stop to think about Creek. But Creek was trying to leave Branch for dead, so of course my focus was on Branch, and how could I not be extremely mad? But no one deserves to die. I saved Branch, but I got Creek killed. Creek could have changed for the better. Poppy imagined him improving over the years, learning from his mistakes, becoming a better troll, being her friend again. But now, that'll never happen. No maybes, no slim chances. She'd forever wonder what might have been. And it was her own fault. But maybe Creek wouldn't have changed if he was eager to leave an innocent troll to die just because of petty jealousy. Poppy always believed that anyone could change, no matter what bad things they've done. But this? It wasn't like anything she'd ever heard of. Even when Creek purposefully ruined her festival, upset her, lied to her, hurt Branch's feelings and degraded him, all those things combined had paled in comparison to what Creek just did a few minutes ago. It was evil. No, that's not possible. No one is truly evil. Everyone has good inside them. But what if the bad outweighs the good? What if they enjoy being bad? Creek's eerie voice rang in her ears.
I'll be doing you a favor. You'll go down in history. I figured I could trick you to doom yourself. Someone needs to comfort poor Poppy when she finds out her beloved boyfriend didn't make it.
She heard no doubt in his voice. He knew exactly what he was doing and saw no wrong in it. Creek was cold-hearted, unpredictable, and had proven to be dangerous. Poppy couldn't have someone like that in her village. But how can I feel glad about someone being gone? Especially when it was my own fault. That would make me evil. Suddenly, many memories of all the good times she'd shared with Creek flashed through her mind, and made her heart ache for two reasons. How could such a charming, mellow, seemingly caring troll turn out to be so twisted? And now, that troll, his good qualities, his future, is gone. All because of me. If it weren't for her, Creek would still be alive. But if it weren't for her, Branch would be dead. Poppy's breath hitched. Branch would be dead. If she hadn't broken her promise and gone after him, her boyfriend would be dead right now. Branch could have died. My boyfriend would have died. I could have too. We both came so close to losing our lives. All because of Creek. Yet she still refused to accept that Creek should have died. No matter what, no one deserves to die. But Branch almost did. And I almost did. Poppy could still see the terror in Creek's expression during his last few seconds. Even from afar, his wide eyes had stared into her soul. She could feel his dismay and horror as if it were her own. His face was still so vivid. No matter how hard she tried to think of something else, she could not get that awful image out of her mind. That was the last thing Creek felt. The worst kind of fear. Knowing that he was about to meet his end. In his last moments, did he regret what he'd done? Did he realize his actions were wrong? If he survived the flood, would this near-death experience have provoked him to change his ways? I'll never know, because he didn't survive the flood. He was killed because of my actions. Regret didn't even begin to describe what she was feeling. Poppy brought her hand up to her pounding heart and found something was missing. Her beaded necklace, the one made by the Trollings for her birthday. She lost it. It must have broken and fallen off during her frantic run back to Midcliff. Poppy's breathing hitched for a second time. That could have been Branch's rose necklace. I almost put it on this morning. I could have lost his grandma's necklace. Before her mind could wander too far with that dreadful scenario, her thoughts switched back to Creek once again, and she squeezed her eyes shut. It didn't have to be this way, Creek. You could have chosen a better path, but you didn't. And that made Poppy feel like a failure. I'm the Queen. It's my job to make sure everyone is happy and safe and loved, and to help them fix their mistakes. I promised no troll would be left behind, but one was. When Dad escaped Bergentown, every last troll made it out alive. I failed as a queen. Her eyes flew open as her queenly duty started to plague her. I told everyone that the beach party would be resumed, but it never will. The final scarecrow making contest and Bella Brightly's birthday party was supposed to take place a few hours ago. I was supposed to attend the compliment rap battle in only a few minutes, and I didn't even have a chance to plan the seating arrangements. I still have to finish the decorations for Mark and Tulip's wedding tomorrow morning. We can't have the fantasy festival in the traditional park because that park is now underwater. And there was supposed to be 2 anniversary parties tonight. Everything will need to be changed. But what about everything that's scheduled for tomorrow? If I postpone today's events into tomorrow, then tomorrow's events will need to be postponed to the next day. And the next day's events will have to be postponed. Everything will fall behind. And how are there any of these events supposed to take place? There's no fun factory, no party supplies, no decorations, no snacks, nothing. And it's well past dinner time. What will everyone eat? Where will they stay for the night? Where will they rebuild their pods? How am I going to tell them about Creek? How will I comfort them, cheer them up, help them? Poppy's breathing grew shallow as her thoughts spiraled, and she finally sank down onto her knees, emotionally exhausted like she'd never been before. The fun factory and all its supplies are destroyed. The events throughout the whole village are going to be delayed or cancelled altogether. How will I get the schedules reorganised? How will we manufacture enough party supplies? Reverend's family is going to be so distraught. Sky Toronto will be devastated. And the Trollings will be so upset when they find out I lost their necklace. I almost lost Branch's precious necklace. That symbol of his beloved... He would have been so crushed. The symbol of his beloved Grandma Rosie Puff that he trusted me with. Gone. I've lost half the village, most of the food and party supplies. 100 trolls are homeless. There's no school for the junior Trollings. And I almost lost Branch. Branch almost died. The missing trolls could have died. I almost died. I was right there in the path. The water was right there. Branch risked his life to save everybody. Then Creek tried to leave him for dead. My boyfriend would be dead right now, and I wouldn't have believed it was an accident. I never would have known that it shouldn't have happened. What would I ever do without Branch? I can't lose him. Oh no, what if the water rises? I'm a terrible queen. I couldn't keep everyone safe. I caused someone's death. Creek is dead. What if my people blame me for that? It's my fault after all. I'm the worst queen in history. Oh no, what if the water rises more? What if it takes out parts above the midcliff? Where will the village go? What if more people lose their homes? What if more people die? What if Branch gets hurt? What if he's hurt right now? What if I lose him? All this turmoil took place in the span of half a minute. Images started to flash in Poppy's vision like a blinding light. The look on Branch's face when he explained the dam, the need for evacuation, the fear on his face when he warned them the dam had burst,
Creek's unsettling words as he prepared to abandon Branch. The wall of water coming at her. Creek's face as he clung helplessly to that treetop, imagining Branch had remained trapped in those grip plants. Suddenly, Poppy felt a severe pain in her chest. Not a sharp or unbearable pain like a broken bone, but rather a constant dull ache that spread throughout her whole body until it reached right into her soul, making her whimper like a lost child. But this unfamiliar pain didn't make her feel scared or angry or upset or even confused. It was the strongest, most terrible sensation she had ever felt, and she did not care. She couldn't care less about it or anything. Branch watched as his pink girlfriend slowly moved toward the remnants of the fun factory. He stared at her, but stayed where he was, still too stunned to move. To watch the forest vanish underwater in under 2 seconds, then watch the sturdiest building in the village fall apart like cookie crumbs. It was surreal. Poppy continued to stare ahead, her back to Branch. He gently said her name, but she didn't respond, not even so much as an ear twitch to show that she had heard. Another few seconds passed, and she plopped down onto her knees. He said her name louder, but again he was met with total silence. He hated seeing his cheerful sweetheart look so downcast. He also noticed her beaded necklace was missing. The blue bow holding her ponytail was barely hanging on, and most of the streamers had fallen out. Those that were still attached were drooping. Finally, Branch took a step toward her, hoping to figure out the right words to say. But then, he froze, like a pause button had been hit. He prayed it was the lighting. He prayed he was hallucinating. But there was something very off about Poppy's appearance. Her magenta hair was not vibrant. Her pink skin was not warm. The changing colours was getting more apparent by the second. Dull and pale. Even her bright blue dress was looking a bit muted. No, it can't be! The heartbreaking scene unfolded in front of Branch was worse than a nightmare. Queen Poppy was turning grey. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Oh my god, that was intense. The flood, Creek actively trying to murder Branch and make it look like an accident, Poppy's trauma, and because she saw him die and everything's missing and her responsibilities are all piling up, she turned grey, guys. Poppy's grey. Oh, that was rough. Not to mention the intensity is making my throat hurt, so I'm going to have to stop for right now, okay? I hope you guys enjoyed, though admittedly very intense. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to get notified for whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.